That's a nice hat. I thought it was an Astros hat for a second.
No, this is Revolution joint.
Yeah.
Yeah, my baldy, I didn't like that. You see how that is?
Shine.
So this with the shine on the cover in the back just was bothering me. So
Yo, welcome to Beers and Bars.
your place for rapid fire hip hop discussion and of course great beer.
I'm Kamal Kiddo.
O to the Golden Child. Thank y'all for checking out last week's episode. You know what I'm saying? Big shout out to John from Revolution Brewing. Make sure you go check that out. This week we have another friend of the show, someone we had the opportunity of actually meeting in person at Old Irving Brewing. But we can let him introduce himself, you know what I'm saying? Go ahead, my brother.
Hey, my name is Danny. I run an Instagram account called Hip Hops, where I pair beers with different vinyl records. Most of it's hip hop music, but some of it's instrumental, alternative. I listen to all the above, jazz, a little bit of everything.
All right.
Right on.
I've lived in Chicago for 8 years now, so I'm originally from Florida. But we love it up here. So my wife and we're here to stay for now.
Okay, that's what's up.
That's what's up.
We're gonna be talking about. Well, come on, you go ahead.
What are we talking about? I don't know if we have a set rule on this episode. We're gonna be talking to Danny about his page, Hip Hops, and what's going on with that, how he got started, and that whole thing. We're talking about Dave Chappelle's new 846 special that just dropped on YouTube.
Yeah.
Friday morning.
Yeah.
Friday morning. What else are we talking about?
We're also going to talk about, just in general, anything we're looking forward to. If it's any albums anybody's looking forward to, you know what I'm saying? Maybe some thoughts on the best joints that have come out this year. I don't know.
Word up. Yeah, I got some things to say. Freestyle. What we drinking today? What y'all drinking over there?
Danny, you go first, man. What's up?
All right, so I haven't opened this yet, and it's bottle conditioned, so the chances are it might start foaming out the top of the bottle. But this is Maestro by Brewing. It's a new brewery here in Chicago. They've been around for almost a year, I think.
Okay.
But this guy, Mike Shalal, who used to work at Pipeworks, used to run the barrel program there. And he started wanting to make Saisons, and he got, from the stories I've heard, he got a little sick of beer. He started getting bored with it because he was just doing barrel-aged stouts, IPAs all the time.
Yeah.
So they brewed this beer. This beer is a collab with Sacred. There we go.
You all good.
With Sacred, which is like a nonprofit in Mexico that helps agave farmers.
Okay.
Mezcal. So this is a Saison with roasted agave hearts in it.
Nice.
What's the alcohol volume on that joint?
This is 5.7.
Nice, man.
Yeah. So first time having it. It just came out last week, and they're doing deliveries within the city. So I came by and delivered this to me.
East West Brewery.
Is what?
Is right? Was. Is slash was. Which,
is was.
Little tidbit. His whole concept of that, he gets into like the philosophy of beer and everything, and his idea is that like when you have a beer, your memory changes over time. So like you may have a beer and then a year later you have the same beer, but your memory of it has changed. So a beer is what it is, and then it was what it was in the future. And it also has a double meaning with like the aging process, because a lot of Saisons have the Brettanomyces or the yeast in it. So they're developing over time.
That's interesting. Man. Because I've been watching. This is kind of a side note, but I've been watching this cartoon on Netflix. I just kind of stumbled upon it. I'm a fan of animation. I'm a fan of cartoons, and there's this show called The Midnight Gospel.
That's my joint.
You watch it?
I'm a Duncan Trussell fan, so yeah.
Yeah, bro. And it's actually got me. I'm on like the third episode, and he's having conversations with different people that they talked about drugs. They've talked about magic. but studying magic, not as a philosophy, not as like, you know, card tricks, but like actual the magic. And there was one other, death. There was one talking about death. And just the metaphysicality of life.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's just interesting that you mentioned was, and I feel that. I feel that energy. I'm accepting all of that energy right now. You know what I'm saying?
Trying to find the label for you real quick, because you can barely probably even see it there. But it's like, it's all one word with the slash in between.
Yeah.
I wanted to have it be like a continuation.
Shout out to Duncan Trussell, man. Yeah, look at OT, man. Look at OT, man.
Calm down.
But yeah, what
do you got?
Otis? Or you want me to go?
I have Emits Showers of Sparks by Hot Butcher. Let me tell you, this joint is Mosaic, Sabro, and Galaxy hop, and they be kicking ass on the flavors, man. They do a very good job of these double IPAs and whatnot. 7.5% alcohol volume. It's just a very good beer, man. Tropical aromas on the nose, and also on the notes is very, very tropical. You know, mango, pineapple. Yeah.
I just cracked one of those Friday right when work got off. My wife.
Me too. I did the same. I cracked one Friday, and dude, yeah, it's pretty good, man.
Yeah, so I obviously need to get up on Hot Butcher. I'm behind the times over here. I need to.
It's the best hazy IPAs in the
city. I need to get with it, man. I need to get with it. You know what I'm saying? I'm accepting my role as the educator and getting educated. You know what I'm saying? So, hey, man, I'll be that guy on the show that gets educated every episode. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, man.
That allows other people to get educated with me. So it's all good.
Yes, sir.
You know what I'm saying? But I'm doing an oldie but a goodie. We've done this on the show. Dogfish Heads. Their SeaQuench Ale Session Sour. We've done this on the show before. Let's see. Blissfully brewed with lime juice, lime peel, black limes, and sea salt. This alcohol volume 4.9.
Yeah.
Just a light joint, you know what I'm saying? 4.9 situation, but I'm a fan of sours.
Yeah.
I was gonna say I knew you were a fan of sours, and these days we gotta have like a bottle share once all this is right.
Hey.
For sure. But yeah.
Let's get that set up once this dies down.
So Danny, what's up with hip hops? Let's get into that a little bit. How and why did you get that? Is it just a page? Is it just an Instagram page, or how did you get started? How'd you get started with it?
Yeah, so two of my when I get into something, I really get into it and I start nerding out about it. And my two things are craft beer and hip hop. So I fell in love. I listened to hip hop when I was a kid, but I really fell in love with it when I was in middle school, high school. It was during like the Raucous, when Raucous Records was huge. And that's when
we were just talking about sound bombing.
So what?
We were just talking about sound bombing. Yeah, but go ahead.
Yeah. So I've been into those things, and my wife is the one that always has to hear me every time I find something cool. I'm like, oh yeah, this is, and I tell her about that with either music or beer, and she started saying like, why don't you find a way to put them together? And I collect records. I've collected records since like 2012ish, and so she was like, why don't you pair music with beers? And so I started looking into doing it, and then I realized, I could start doing like labels, how like the images on the album cover and the beer label either match up, or the name will match up, or like it'll be a big song. Mm-hmm. So that was pretty much it. It was just putting two of my passions together, and sort of I love exposing people to things. So like I always try to put like a little tidbits in the write-ups about what the beer's about or the artist. I listen to a lot of obscure artists, and so it's just fun to sort of share that with people.
How long you been doing it for?
So the 4th of July this year will be 2 years. My first post was it was a Surly It was an American one. I can't remember what it is, but it's like got an American flag. I can't remember what the name is right now. But it was with Brother Ali's Morning in America.
Yeah.
And so I did those two together, and that was the first one I've done. So this will be 2 years coming up.
So go ahead, Otis. Go ahead.
That's what's up, man. What I like most about your page, I think we've been following each other, for maybe a year or two now, is the aesthetic of it. Have you ever had an art background? Because you have an eye for properly pairing the beer with the album cover. It's like the aesthetic of it and the coloring it all matches perfect, So
yeah, sometimes
it's art. Yeah.
I did. This is like silly, but in middle school, I did a visual arts focus. So I had art class like all the time. So I was doing anything, like all different types of drawing, painting, clay.
Right.
So I have, I guess, a little bit of an idea for that, but I kind of bounce everything off my wife. She's like my creative liaison to everything. So she's helpful. I got some buddies that I'll send things to, and I'm like, does this make sense to you, or is this like too far of a stretch? But sometimes they come together, like you said, with the color. This last one I just posted yesterday, it's obscure beat makers from Sweden and the UK, but it was a half-acre beer, and the name of it went together. The way the sunset and the sea faded in together, it was the same color scheme. It was just like one of those ones where I see it, and it's just like, boom, like this needs to get it done. So it's, yeah.
Another question with that: do you actually? So you're familiar with the Music L podcast, right? And how they pair a song and a beer together based upon a feeling. Does that happen sometime with your page? Is it more than just color? Do you actually listen to the music, and is it represent the beer in any way at all?
Yeah, sometimes it is, and sometimes it's just like. Sometimes I feel like it's too much of a hit on the nose. Like you'll have like a Maple Marauders and a Midnight Marauders, and you got to go together. And it's a barrel-aged stout with maple in it, so it's like a heavy hitter versus like a jazzy album. So it doesn't always necessarily go together, but sometimes like a sour paired with a beat tape is supposed to be like a summertime beach vibe.
Yeah,
like, it does click sometimes, but sometimes it's just you hit the nail on the head, and you got to do it, even if it doesn't make sense.
Okay.
So what are you feeling right now? What
That's what I want to talk about.
Yeah, man. What you listening to right now? Give me 2 projects, at least 2, that you've been kind of like, you know what? I'm feeling this. I would recommend this to others.
And and with that question, Dan is like my go-to on like the European jazz like scene at this point. Like you put me on to like Alpha Mist and guys like that. So yeah, what are you listening to?
Yeah, so I was just gonna say, so Alpha Mist and that whole UK jazz scene. So you have like Kamal Williams.
Yeah.
Relation.
There's another. Yes. Yeah. I'm familiar.
Tom Misch, who's he just came out with the album.
Yeah.
That was with Kamal Williams with Yusuf Days, but that one, it's got a real like jazz, hip hop, soul vibe to it. So I'm really into that right now. Ivan Av, which I've mentioned to OT also, he's a rapper from Oslo, Norway.
Yeah.
He's got the jazzy vibe. He's almost like, I don't want to take any shots at anybody, but he's almost like a Drake to me, but he feels more genuine to me because he talks about emotion, but then he'll also throw political stuff in there, which I'm about the lyrics. I need it to say something. I like the jazzy vibes. A lot of the samples that he chooses for the beats are off of synths and everything. So it's just a different sound. Like I like something that just you feel,
Yeah. And we actually go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, and going some other stuff I've been just randomly getting into is going into the jazz scene. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of library music. I know you guys do some beats and stuff, but it's like I don't want to call it elevator music, but there's this guy Sven Wonder who sort of popped up, and I can't remember where he's from. He's from somewhere in Europe.
Yeah, he's
like gaining a lot of traction with a lot of vinyl heads right now. Playing obscure instruments and making sounds that it's labeled library music, but it's just a lot of producers will use that for digging to make loops and samples.
Interesting. Okay. That's what's up. Well, let me go ahead and drop this on y'all. I don't know if you've heard this group. I think they're a group. I'm pretty sure it's a group. But this is they're calling it crossover jazz. It's been sampled, you know what I'm saying, several times. But I don't even know how to say this. Chapelle Bleu. Cortex. Can you see that?
Yeah, I can see it. Chapelle Bleu. Are you dropping a suggestion right now? I love it.
I'm dropping a suggestion right now. From 19. When you hear the album, you'll know exactly.
Oh, hey, that's Cortex.
Yes, Cortex.
Yeah. I'm not familiar with that album. I've listened to some of their other albums, but yeah, no,
that's a good album. And as soon as you start listening to it, you're like, this has been sampled here. This has been sampled there. You'll definitely like, that. Yo, that's crazy. You'll hear some samples.
I hear
your samples for sure.
Crossover Jazz dropped in 1975, right? That's the one? Okay, all right.
Yes. Check it out for sure.
Let's talk about Chappelle, man.
Yeah. So Dave Chappelle just dropped his latest comedy special, if we can call it that.
I know, right? Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You know, he's at the point where he just gets on stage and talks. You know what I'm saying? He might drop some jokes here and there, but he's really like wanting to get his thoughts out, really.
Yeah.
And you know, he's built himself up to a point where he can do that.
Yeah.
And he, you know, I was telling OT the other day, like, this might be the freest comedian and maybe the freest black man that's ever graced a microphone. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? That is able to just speak. You know what I'm saying? He is not he has no sponsorship. There's no one that's funding his projects but him. You know what I'm saying? He can say, I am doing a show and people will come. You know what I'm saying? You know, it's titled 846 because that's how long the police officer kneeled on George Floyd's neck.
Right.
And of course, at this point, we all know that he died.
Right.
From that 8 minutes and 46 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
And so that is the I guess the crux of the whole special. But yeah, so and he talks about that. He talks about the police brutality and these black bodies dying in the streets. You know what I'm saying? Everything that encompasses that. I don't know.
All I can say, I love Dave Chappelle. That's all I can really say. I think he along with a couple others, are maybe like the most important voices of the times, just because they aren't. When you think about, you think about your traditional news and how it always fits a certain side and whatnot. If you're watching this or you're watching that, but Dave Chappelle and guys like him just, I think, speak objectively and honestly, and they critique. He's almost a social critic at this point.
He is. Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Even with Chappelle's show, I felt like he was.
Yes.
So I think it was very necessary that he did this, and I think he did kind of feel compelled to do so because people were, calling out where are the celebrity voices. But he threw a shot at Don Lemon, which I love.
Yeah.
He threw a shot at him. But I dig it, man. It's important that he spoke. I think amongst anybody, if anybody's voice is important to speak on what's going on, I think that his is. So yeah.
And I'll say one of the things that stuck out to me with it was when he was talking about how terrified he was with the earthquake.
Yeah.
And how it only lasted like 35 seconds, he said. And you start thinking about like how terrified and how you can feel like your life's going to end in such a short amount of time. But just to try and think about that tenfold with the amount of time that this guy had the knee on the neck. And it's just, it's crazy.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah, Dave Chappelle is a great storyteller. He has perfected his storytelling ability. You know what I'm saying? The way and all comedians, to their credit, should be good storytellers.
Yeah.
And, you know, you want to set up the joke. You know what I'm saying? He sets it up and then hits you with the punchline at the end, you know what I'm saying? As far as, you know, the structure of a joke goes. But the structure of a story really is what a joke is, right? It's just the structure of a story. And he's telling you how he felt in that short amount of time and gives you just this story, anecdotal story about how he felt and what he was thinking and all of that in that short amount of time, and puts it in perspective to what happened to George Floyd is just a very dope way to tell a story.
Yeah.
And he was so passionate with it too.
Oh yeah. Yeah. He was very, very passionate about it. Another thing that stuck out to me was he mentioned what is the military doing to our men when they train them, right? Because you know, he mentioned, and this is actually, you know, when I first saw it, I'm thinking, man, he's getting real old uncle at a barbecue vibe. You know what I'm saying? Like, what you thought? I feel like you losing people right now, Chappelle. You losing people. But when I thought about it later, he is not just like flighted. It's just not out here. He's just saying it. You know what I'm saying? He's a calculated artist. You know what I'm saying? He's a calculated person. You know what I'm saying? And he spoke about, you know, these African-American men in particular, two men who were both ex-military and ended up killing police officers, like on a crazy rampage, right? Because, and his reasoning is because they were trained is a war on terror. And he saw these police officers as terrorists. They saw these police officers as terrorists. Yeah. And the one cop made a statement on a radio show or something like that about, you know what, I'm going to go to these people's house. If they don't do this, I'm going to go to their house, kill their family, and all that other thing. He made it public and then did it. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, he put out there, what are they doing in the military? What are they saying in the military? What are they... You know, he put that out there. He put that in the ether, you know, and it's up to people. You know, I think that's and I got a lot of thoughts in my head about this.
Yeah, I mean, everybody does at this point, man.
I'm sorry, but you know, there are people that, you know, start revolutions, and there are some people that are the agitators that give the spark to other people that start the revolution. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like he's one of those agitators, one of those sparks, you know what I'm saying? Because he's putting out things out in the ether of the universe and into people's heads to just make them think. You know what I'm saying? And some of it would be like, you just an old uncle. But some of it, some people will gravitate towards it, you know what I'm saying, and start this whole snowball effect. And that's what I kind of picked up from the whole thing. I mean, there's that, and then there's his just raw emotion of how he felt about the situation and the situations like that.
Right.
I thought it was short, and I thought it was powerful in that way. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I thought there was no time wasted. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Go ahead, Dan.
And I was just going to say, I feel like another thing that seems to get lost in the media to me is that when these protests and everything going on, people start focusing on this is just one instance. But he was bringing it back like this is something that's been going on for decades.
Yeah.
It's not just, I think he said something like, it's not just one cop, it's all of it. Like it's the whole system. And so that actually made me start to think, and I started doing a little bit of research on like how many people are killed by the cops per year in the U.S. versus other areas. And
it's a staggering number, man.
It is. It blew my mind that I'm trying to pull up the number here per 10 million people. So I mean, I know the U.S. has a lot of people in it.
Yeah.
People would be like, oh yeah, but there's so many more people in the U.S.
Exactly. Yeah.
33.5 people die per 10 million die from the cops. The next closest is Canada at 9.8. So it's like,
oh my God,
3 times the amount. And then you start going into these other countries. Japan, 0.2. Finland and Norway, 0. Like it's just like how it's a systemic problem with the institution.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What more to say on that?
I mean, you know what, man? Look, so, you know, I think we might have said this the last time we were on the show, but, you know, the tide is changing right now. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like real change is occurring right now. You know what I'm saying? I just saw just yesterday that, which I thought was kind of crazy. I didn't think this was really news, but you know, Walmart has decided to not put black hair products in the cage where you gotta call somebody over to unlock it. Because on the next aisle, all of the other hair products are right there open that you could just pick up and go purchase, you know, or pick up and steal if you wanted to, right? I guess I would assume that's what they're trying to prevent. You know what I'm saying? People from stealing these products, but they put out a statement saying that they're going to make these products free to just pick up rather than put them in a cage. Yeah. And I thought that was a little extreme. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, that's great. I think y'all are overdoing that concept, but maybe not. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. Maybe not. But the point is that it's changing across the board. You know what I'm saying? Everyone is trying to show their solidarity. You know what I'm saying? It's very interesting to me.
It's very interesting. Yeah.
This is unprecedented. This is this isn't the first time an African American has been killed by the hands of the police on video. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But
in this month, you know?
Yeah. Right. But
and
you know,
you gotta hope that it's not like a trend, you know? You gotta hope that people stick with it. And
I'm skeptical, so
yeah. No, I mean I am too, just because I feel like that's the American way. Like you I mean the same thing, not to get too political. I know OT and I have talked about politics briefly.
Let's go.
I mean, there's certain people in high positions who will do something that sounds like it's crazy and he's never going to top it. And then a week later, you forget about that because he's done topped it.
Yeah, exactly.
People are like hyper focused on whatever is instant gratification. So you just got to hope that people don't lose sight.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's a fact.
Yeah.
As we almost reach our limit here in our great conversation, is there anything anybody wants to or is looking forward to musically? Anything at all?
I'm waiting.
You want me to go?
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
So I don't know if you guys are familiar with Blue in Exile, but they're from LA. So they came out with Below the Heavens back in 2007, which was like, I mean, that's like one of my favorite albums of all time. They're coming out with a new album. I think it's going to be within the next like month or so. I can't remember exactly when it's coming out, but they just released a single. It's called, I wrote it down here. It's called Roots of Blue. They were going to release a different song, but then with everything going on, they decided that song meant something to the times. So they just released that one the other day. The other one I'll say is Spillage Village, which I hadn't even heard of until just this last week. But it's a group of like 5 or 6 people, and including in it is Jid and Earth Gang from Dreamville.
Oh, word.
They have some stuff that came out back in 2015, which I haven't checked out yet. But they just put a single out I think it was Friday or something.
It's a good song.
Yeah.
I checked it out.
What's your so how do you find new music? Do you
forget us. Let's just because I'm interested in your seriously, no, but for real.
How do you decide to gravitate towards certain things and kind of ignore other things? Do you ignore anything, or do you just
it's just like, I think with anything it's feeling. like if it's something I kind of alluded to this earlier, but when you feel something that makes you want to listen to it, and like I told you, I nerd out about things, so I may find an artist I like, and then I'll listen to everything they have, and then I'll put on like the Spotify radio of them, and then I'll find somebody else who's similar and start going down that path.
Yeah.
But I mean, I listen to everything. I'm very like mood based. So if I'm working, I have like instrumental stuff going on, or if I'm at night, I'll have like a jazz going on. It's just, I guess it's like moody.
Yeah.
But I listened this morning. We were listening to Ethiopian jazz, so it was just like my mother-in-law is kind of like what is this?
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, if it's got a good feeling and if it makes you feel good, play it. That's what I go by. But to find new music, that, and then also on Instagram, I'll see some of the other like vinyl collectors that'll put something, and I'm like, I've never seen this before, and I know this guy likes music I like. I need to check this out. And I got a couple other guys too. We send stuff back and forth, and we find something new. Right. That's pretty much it.
That's dope.
That's dope, man. I don't really have anything I'm looking forward to. I'm just enjoying. It's a lot of different. What am I listening to right now? I've been really listening to a lot of the stuff that has come out over the last month mainly. But I have my playlist that I've been rocking with, man. Let me see here. I've been listening to Run the Jewels a lot, of course.
Yeah.
But outside of that, I'm only looking forward to right now. I really wish, and it's just some basic bitch shit, but I wish K-Dot would drop an album right now. I'm interested in hearing what
I was about to mention that.
What Mr. Lamar has to say, because I feel like he's also an artist that looks at things, sits on it, and then makes work based upon his thoughts and all that. So
for sure,
that's all I got.
Yeah. Lately, you know, OT put me on the Chaz Bundig meets the Matson 2. Yeah. So I've been listening to a lot of Star stuff, that album.
Yeah.
Toro Imoy. I've been listening to, it's probably going to be on my top 5 for the year, but I've been in heavy rotation with the Jay Electronica and Jay-Z album, man. Just go ahead and say Jay-Z album on it, too.
Yeah.
But, man, hey, man.
I can't front.
Look, I haven't been on Instagram, so I don't know what really or Twitter, so I don't know what people are saying anymore about it. But hey, man, them boys was rapping.
Content wise, them boys
got jewels on there for real life. Jewels, spiritual, bruh. I
gotta listen to it again. But I will say,
I like it. It's good.
Project. It's good. It's the thing is, it's good. But I went into it with such high expectations because of we've been waiting for so long, and it was like that came out, and it was. I mean, if I hadn't had the high expectations and it hadn't been so long, I probably would have really enjoyed it more. But I think I just put too much on it.
I feel you. But for me, I didn't. Hey, man, look. I really like it. I really like it a lot. You know,
I've been learning to suppress my expectations, man, because when you go into something with that, it always either it's gonna hit them or it's gonna, Mm-hmm. So that's what I've been doing. Like I just give something to listen, man, and so yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, I will say so. Going to who we wish would drop an album. You made me think of it, but I would say like Mos Def, I wish would do something because I feel like he's another. He's another who will put little tidbits about what's going on in the world.
What's the name of that Red album? That joint was.
Is that the Ecstatic or? I'm blanking on what that one's called. No.
Yeah. I think it might be the Ecstatic.
Supposedly, his album with Talib Kweli is going to be produced by Madlib. Supposedly, and they are working on it. I'll leave that there. I won't, because again, suppression of the expectations. I'll just put that out there.
Right.
I don't want to get myself excited.
I mean, I want to hear it.
It's like,
yeah.
No, I want to hear it. But yeah.
All right. Well. Dan, we appreciate you. hopefully, again, when this is all over, we can do a bottle share and maybe meet up at a brewery or something. But tell them where they can find you at.
So it's at hip-hop or at hip__hops. There's some other ones that were taken, and I had ordered the name, so I stuck with it. That's about it. I did start doing I started making playlists during quarantine while I'm working. So I've been building out playlists. I was going to share that with everybody at some point soon. But that's about it. It's just really Instagram right now.
I know.
Okay. Beers and bars.
Beers and bars.
I appreciate you guys.
Another one.
My cup is gone, so I mean, it's all, yeah.
Do that.
Peace.
All right.